Welcome to the show, where we discuss time-tested and science-supported tools for better health, long life, and pleasures. If the current environmental, political, or financial uncertainties bother you, make you feel scared, unsafe, or uncomfortable, if you don't feel that you are adequately prepared for any kind of nasty surprise that life can throw at you, and you don't know how you can protect what you really value in life, then watch this episode to learn actionable do-it-yourself survival techniques for any kind of situation. I'm Lilian Zeltzer, and for over 3 decades, I researched, practiced, and hunted for natural secrets for better health, longevity, and pleasures. In the process, I discovered effective, time-tested, and science-supported natural solutions, which together with many wonderful experts, I share in this show with those who want them. Because as Hippocrates said in the 4th century BC, if you are not your own doctor, you are a fool. Our guest today is Daniel Kilburn, an emergency action planning expert with 30 years of experience in training survival techniques at the Department of, which he taught at the Department of Defense Civilians and Army Surgeons Major Academy of the United States. He is also an author of Family Urban Disaster Planning and co-author of many best-selling books and published works. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Well, thank you very much, Lillian. I want to tell you how grateful I am to sit here and have this conversation with you. And you know, yesterday was Thanksgiving here in the United States. And, you know, it's a day of giving thanks. And I think we should give thanks every day. So I thank you, Lillian, for offering me the opportunity to sit here and have this conversation with you.
And likewise, I would like to thank you, Daniel, for making time to share your knowledge and valuable experience. Wars, natural disaster, epidemics, terrorism, shooting sprees, crime, fraud, viruses, and other nasty problems were always present in human lives. And those who were prepared for it ahead had better chance to survive.
Well, yes, that's quite true.
Yeah,
you know, this is
the progress of media technology, bad news travel even faster than ever before. And we are constantly bombarded by the bad news. So it is natural that many of us feel helpless and leave our survival to chance. You are an emergency planning expert. What in your professional experience is it possible to do to prepare ourselves to survive in any kind of situation?
Well, it's predominantly a mindset. Now, you mentioned that we're constantly being bombarded with negative influences. Things are happening all over the world. I'm worried about myself, my loved ones, my children, my business. But it's about the mindset and diving into expecting the unexpected and having a plan of action for it. Now, I know it's kind of hard to say, well, if I don't expect it, I don't know what I'm planning for. I said, well, you know, you got a point there. I'll have to admit that. But what I do know from people who do put plans together, there's the micro and the macro. Okay. The micro is what's literally happening around your environment right now. What's with your family, your loved ones in your home, your city, your community. And the macro is what's happening on a broader scope or scale that might affect you. And it's just being aware of it. That's where it starts, making that awareness and then deciding to do something about it, because you have to take action. It does no one any good to sit here and ponder all the possibilities and then do nothing about them. So we need to take some action. That's very important.
Absolutely. I totally agree. But what is the biggest challenge for people who want to learn these survival techniques and help themselves and their loved ones?
Well, I did say the mindset, but that comes in a couple of different ways. A lot of people who I've dealt with over the years, they just don't know where to find the information. They might be remiss, in their communities. I know here in the United States, every county or every city has what we call the Office of Emergency Management. And I'm sure that every major Western European or metropolitan city around the world basically has something along that line. I don't know what they call them, but they have something like it. Now, if you can't find an Office of Emergency Management, go to your fire department. Boom, they're the first ones to start with. And you just say, hey, look, I've done my homework here. I find that we might have this issue here in this community at my home, and I would like to prepare myself and my family for that. How can I start with that? And they should have some help, be able to point you to resources that are regionally available, and you'll get started on it. And that's, again, the key issue. You got to get started. Take that first step forward.
Absolutely. I totally agree that prevention is better than cure. And if you are ready for something that can happen to you or your loved ones, it's better to be ready for it and take a leadership in situation when our cortisol goes through the roof and we are not in total control of our actions, or many people are not totally in total control of their actions. Speaking of actionable, practical, do-it-yourself tips, are there any that you can share with us today that can help us to be ready or readier for those situations?
Okay, well, again, it comes back to information, gathering information. That's actually the crux of the whole thing, because if I'm sitting here pondering, I'm on the Pacific West Coast right now. So the big thing here is earthquakes and hurricanes. But if I'm sitting here pondering, earthquakes and wildfires. But if I'm sitting here thinking about hurricanes, I'm wasting my time, because there's very few hurricanes out here on the Pacific West Coast of California. Back in Florida, there's no earthquakes. They have some wildfires, but they have a lot of hurricanes. So the idea is, again, discover what you need to be prepared for. And that's why you get a hold of your Office of Emergency Management or your fire department and find out what you need to get and get together with, what you need to prepare for. And then the next thing I would say is you need to have a conversation with your family and your loved ones. Because if you're building a plan of action to protect your family, your home from an event of some sort, the family has to be part of the plan. Okay, mom, dad, if you build a perfect plan and you don't tell anybody about it and you're not home and they need the plan, no one knows what to do. So we want to engage our children, especially in the activation and the creation of this plan. You never know what kind of great information they might have. Our kids are brilliant. They're smart. We want to give them the opportunity to demonstrate that. But also, the number one disaster and emergency that strikes most people is house fires. Now, people don't think about that. House fires are the number one biggest disaster everywhere around the world. And more people die to it basically than all natural disasters combined. Now, there are some exceptions, but ideally, that's the first disaster you want to work with. Get you and your family working together to build a comprehensive fire escape plan, a fire prevention plan. And then once you got that mind twirling, you got people working on being protected and protecting each other, then you can expand that out into your earthquakes, your hurricanes, your landslides, your floods, tornadoes, or what have you.
Right.
So that's what I do. Find out what it is that the county or your local community officials are preparing for. Okay.
Right.
And then have that conversation with your family.
Right. So once we get ready for certain situation, fire or any other environmental disaster or whatever, we need to practice actually that, not only with our mind, in our mind, but with those people who are around us. How often should we do that?
Well, while you're building the plan, you should practice the plan while you're building it. And the reason being, if you build the plan and you think, oh, this looks pretty on paper, and you put it aside, and then you need to try and do it, you don't know what you're doing because you haven't practiced it. We learn, our bodies have memory, okay? And I'll use the example of house fires because I'm big on house fires in the holiday season because more house fires happen during the cold winter months, okay? At least in the Northern Hemisphere, because the heaters are on, we got candles burning, fireplaces are going, there's more fires during the winter. And the lower hemisphere, it's still the winter. There's more fires there also. But the key issue is you need to practice, and I'm going to take the children in effect here. If you're building a fire escape plan, you need to practice escaping from the house with your children so they know what they're doing. Do it during the daylight. Don't make it harder than you have to. You can do it by walking out the first time. Do it by crawling out the second time. Seriously, do it at night with the lights out, because I guarantee you when the house is filled with smoke, you're not going to see anything. Get on your hands and knees and learn crawling out in the dark. And that way you and your children will understand what it is you're putting together. And that way, when you are not home and something happens, your children already know what to do. So that's the key issue about putting your plan together. A couple of the things to think about is, I'm sure you've seen when something comes up, we see a lot of people running around all confused. They're on Twitter, they have anxiety, they don't know what they're doing. That's because they don't have a plan. Okay. Now, do you want to be that person, or do you want to be the cool, calm, and collected guy or gal who's got a plan? You're all taken care of. You don't have to go buy any more toilet paper because you've already got it. You don't have to do anything special because you've already prepared for it. And that's the benefit there for your whole family, is you're already prepared, and everybody else is running in circles trying to do something to pretend they're prepared.
But there are so many situations. How do we know what to prepare? And say during COVID times, people concentrated mainly on water and food and other things that they use every day in everyday's life to make it more comfortable for them.
Well,
in case of the war, it would be different things. Say flood, fire, earthquake. How do we know what to prepare? Is it always food, shelter, and that's what we have to think of?
Well, okay, the basic bottom line is it does not matter what the event is. It could be an earthquake, a wildfire, a flood, a tornado, a hurricane. It could be any number of things. But the bottom line is you need 4 things. You need a shelter, you need a roof over your head to protect yourself from the elements, you and your family. You need food, you need water, and you need sanitation. And when I say sanitation, what I mean is at some point in time, you will have to go poo and pee. And if the infrastructure is damaged, it might be hard to do. And if you're not being conscious about it, you could be creating a bigger disaster as far as germs and bugs and other things that happen with that. But so the bottom line is to get the basics in place. Find your shelter, your water, your food, and your sanitation. There is information out there. I have my book you mentioned, the Family Urban Disaster Planning book. Excuse me. Covers all that. It's basic. It's a 60-page book. You can read it in an hour. You can put it together in a week. It's not that hard. That's another thing I want to bring up. Putting a plan together is not hard, and it does not cost a lot of money. Okay? Think about it like insurance. You know, if you have this plan of action in place, it's like insurance for your family, your loved ones. You don't want to use it. You have car insurance. Do you want to wreck your car and use it? Of course not, but you have insurance, right? You have house insurance. Do you want to have a fire in your house and have to use it? No, but you have the insurance. It's the same with putting an emergency plan together for your family and your loved ones. Now, moving forward, once you have your basics in place, then you're going to look at the that's the micro. Once your basics are in place, you can look at the macros. What is the event that we're looking at preparing ourselves for, based on your information you gathered from your Office of Emergency Management? And there are places to find information that will specifically drill down into those type of events and things that you can do to prepare yourself. And they're different. Preparing for a fire is just different than preparing for a hurricane, or it's different than preparing for a tornado. So let's get the basics down, and then we'll open it up and go outside and start looking at the macro economy of what's going on with our plans.
Yes, well, I totally agree that we do need to allocate time or survival techniques. Like my grandmother, who survived World War I, the
Right.
Russian Revolution, World War II, not only her, but her family, because they were ready for it. It actually protected their lives. It gave them a chance to survive something that thousands, millions of people didn't survive.
Right. Yeah. But that's the mindset for it, and they chose to do it.
Yes, but actually, a last question, if I may. Can you share with us a success story where do-it-yourself survival techniques actually saved someone's life that you know?
Okay. Well, we'll go back to 2004. 2004, I was living in Florida. I'm a single father, had 2 teenage daughters, and I was also in the military. And that summer, hurricane season, I was out of state on a mission with the military. And 2004 is unique. It was the year before Hurricane Katrina. Everybody heard about Hurricane Katrina. But in 2004, 4 hurricanes blew through Florida, like back to back to back to back. And so I'm out of state, and I get a phone call from my daughter, who's 16 at the time. Daddy, there's people in the grocery store having fistfights over gallons of water. And I asked her, why are you in the grocery store looking for water? Oh, they're just grocery shopping. But what the success there was, I'd already taught my daughters. We had moved from California. In California, I started getting prepared for the earthquakes, and this is where I discovered all these things. When I moved out to Florida, it was a simple twist to take the information I have from earthquake preparedness and turn it into hurricane preparedness. So I was comfortable knowing that my 12 and my 13-year-old daughter were home, and they didn't need me. Yes, they did not need daddy because they could take care of themselves. That's one. I was happy for that. 2017, Hurricane Irma. It was a Category 5 hurricane that hit the Florida coast, and it was supposed to hit our community, but it blew south of us. It came south of us. It impacted many people. And at that time, we were in an evacuation zone where we lived then, so we had to leave. And I am wandering around the house, a little anxious. I have my granddaughter with me, who was 11 at the time. And she says, Papa, you look upset. You look anxious. What's going on? And I say, I'm not upset. I'm not anxious. Everything's okay, which really was not true. And so I had to remind her that, well, you do know there's this big hurricane coming. This building might not be here tomorrow. And I realized that was the wrong way to be talking to my 11-year-old granddaughter. So I sat down and I asked her if she knew why we were there. She says, yes, we're preparing for the hurricane. So I taught her. I taught my 11-year-old granddaughter. And says, why are we here? Well, we're looking at things we might need to take out that we want to save if the building is no longer here tomorrow. Yes. Do you have asked her if she has all her stuff? Yes, I have my stuff. And where are we going? Well, we have our safe house we're going to. Her aunt is there, my other daughters, my mother, her great-grandmother's there. The cat is there. The dogs are there. Everybody's safe. And then I realized there's no reason to be where we were at. So we left to go get an ice cream cone. But the success there was that my granddaughter at 11 instantly understood what we were doing. And she's a little leader now. She's a dynamo. I'm so proud of her because she is doing some amazing things right now. At 17 years old, she's out there. That's real good. And then last year, 2022, Hurricane Ian. The big success is there for all the people that I was no longer in Florida then. But of course, I contacted all my clients, had to ask them how they're doing. How are you? How are you? No one had a problem. So that was success. Nothing happened. Everybody was okay. So that's one of those kind of things to think about. How do you know it's working? Did anything happen? No. Boom. It's working just fine then, isn't it? It's not like you need something to happen. If you've got it planned and prepared for and nothing happens, you're doing the right thing. So, those are the successes. Unfortunately, the Maui fire was bad. I have friends that lived there. And they called me like the day or 2 days after the Maui fire. Daniel, what can I do? And I says, well, we had this conversation 6 months ago. You remember that, right? And you told me you don't need to do it because nothing like that's ever going to happen here. And that's a learning point, folks. We never know if it's going to happen. We don't know. Okay. So if it's happening, it's too late to prepare. It really is. You're in reaction mode. You're deeply in survival mode then. So you want to be prepared, be proactive, have a plan of action, know the plan, be prepared, be practiced on the plan. So if you have to activate it, you know what you are doing. That's pretty much that.
Well, it's basically like military precision. You need to be ready for any kind of situation and be able to take lead or give that lead to somebody who can perform. Is it correct?
Okay, well, as you can be, again, it's a mind frame. It all comes back to how you are thinking and what you're thinking about. And as long as you're cognizant of the opportunity that you might have to do something, I'll tell you an example here. I'm sure in the economy of the United States, there's a lot of random shootings. People go into random buildings and shoot. And I have a drill with my daughters and my granddaughter. First thing we do is we look for the alternate exits. The alternate exit. The one, not the front door, not the side door, the alternate exit. And the reason being, if somebody's got their head in a swivel and they see something that might not be good, we have a secret word. If one of us mentions that word, we immediately get up and go to the alternate exit. No questions, no nothing. We don't grab anything. We walk out the door. Again, that's because that's how we're prepared to do things. That's what we've trained ourselves to do.
Right. According to our expert, if you want to protect what you value in your life.
Say that again?
I'm saying that according to you, if people want to protect what they value in their lives, they need to devise an emergency survival plan. And if they don't know where to begin, they should use the link under this video to contact you, Daniel. I wish you were located not in the United States, but in Australia, where I am. I would be on your doorstep tomorrow because there's so much value you can add to my survival techniques, to my do-it-yourself solutions that one day might help my loved ones to survive, say, home invasion, fire, or any other kind of nasty things that life can throw at us. So I would like to thank you on behalf of our viewers and myself for sharing your wonderful knowledge and valuable experience. And I hope to see you again on our program. Thank you, Daniel.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Lillian. It's been a pleasure sitting here talking to you. And I really, truly, truly do hope that someone in your audience grasps this and does something about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you won't miss any of the new episodes. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, please put them below the video. I do read them. If you are looking for a good, reliable source of specific ingredients, experts, services, or products, click on the resources link under this video. To health, long life, and pleasures.